everyone, so today I have a disappointing products video for you, and I've never actually done one of these before. I tend to kind of leave the things I don't like to the side and just forget about them and not really mention them on here, because I don't like to be too negative when it comes to things, because makeup and skincare is very subjective, and something that I didn't get on with could definitely be your favourite, or something that you hated I could absolutely love. As it is January and I've kind of dedicated myself to having a good clear out of my makeup, a good spring clean, or even though it's not spring, I really went through everything and decided that if I hadn't worn it for at least 6 months or a year, I should definitely get rid of it, because not only is that completely bad for hygiene reasons, you shouldn't really keep makeup for that long, I also was probably never going to wear it again because it had been forgotten about. So the products that I have to show you here are things that I really was quite excited about trying, things that might have had quite a big hype behind them and then I just really didn't get along with. So the first one is, or the first couple are mascaras, and I do get through a lot of mascaras and I think it's quite tricky to find one that really suits you. So first of all, probably one of my biggest disappointments so far this year is the LOreal Miss Manga Punky mascara. I was so excited when I found out they brought a new version. I love the original Miss Manga and everything that they've done so far is brilliant, but this, I absolutely hated it, and it pains me to say that, but it's just not a good mascara at all. I think it has the same formula as the original Miss Manga, but the brush has completely changed. It's still got the kind of tapered one to it, but it's very spiky and plasticky, and the bristles just don't really seem to be long enough to comb through your lashes. It just coats them with too much product and it clumps them together. So if you are someone that likes really thick, clumpy, spidery looking lashes, this may be the one for you, but I really didn't get on with it, unfortunately. Another mascara launch that I was really excited about, which I think pre-ordered from Space NK. I very rarely pre-order anything, but I really wanted to try this, and it was the Alexa Chung for Eyeko collection she brought out. I think it was a liquid liner and a mascara together in a set. I think she has a few more products now, but this was the first thing that she did, and it's called the Eye Do Mascara Lengthen and Strengthen. And again, I just from first use didn't like this at all. It really just didn't do anything at all, and it has a kind of combination of thin and then long bristles that kind of goes up in a spiral, and there's quite a big space between each of the bristles, quite a big gap, so it didn't really cling onto my lashes at all. I had to really work at it to see anything at all on there, and once it was on, it kind of looked very uneven. Some lashes were long, some were really thick and a bit clumpy, and some just had no product on them at all. So it was such a tricky one to apply, and it just didn't look good at all. So I was so disappointed in that, because I love Alexa Chung, she is style goddess, of course. I did really like the liner though that came with it. It was a very thick felt tip liquid liner, and it was really black and dark. So one good thing, one not so good thing. And then the last mascara that I really didn't get on with was one that I've seen raved about so much, but I just didn't like it at all. It's the Maybelline Rocket Volume Express, and it has quite an interesting looking one, something that I thought I would really like. It's quite thick and bulky, but it's got lots of tiny little bristles on it, and it's it was very lengthening on my lashes, which I don't always look for in a mascara. I like volume, but when a mascara says it's going to be volumizing in the actual name, you expect it to have at least a little bit of volume, but it really didn't do anything at all. It just sort of separated them and made them look really long, almost too long. I don't like it when my lashes look really long and spiky, but if you are after length, this may be the one for you, but I really didn't get any volume out of it at all, so unfortunately didn't get on with that one. It was only a cheap mascara, a more drugstore price one, so I didn't waste too much money with that one, but I will be sticking to L'Oreal's Miss Manga for now. The next product is a foundation, and again, it's one that really pains me to say I didn't like it, because I so wanted to get on with it. It's the Perfection Lumiere Velvet from Chanel, and I gave this the benefit of the doubt. I used it quite a lot. I think there's only about half left, so I have tried it, and I've tried it in so many different ways. I've mixed it in with foundations, I've tried it on its own, I've laid it up very full coverage, I've made it quite sheer and minimal looking, but I just never have really found a way that this looks good. It has a really similar amount of coverage to the Vitalumiere Aqua from Chanel, which I do really like, but it has a very different texture. It's almost quite powdery. It finishes in a powder, so it goes on quite creamy and it feels still quite hydrating, but it sets down to this really strange feeling texture, which I really didn't like. It's almost between a very matte finish and then a very slippery, silicone-y feel, so it feels like it's very mattifying and yet it still moves around on your skin, which I don't like that at all when it comes to foundations. I don't know if it actually has silicone in it, but it feels like it does. So I know some people really do like this one, and I think if I was going to use it, and I will try and use it and, you know, make make the most of it because it was a pretty expensive foundation, I'll just mix it in with my Vitalume Aqua, and that just tends to kind of sheer it out a bit and add a bit more hydration and make it a bit more workable. Another high-end product that I was kind of let down by was the Bobbi Brown Creamy Concealer Compact, and I bought this specifically to use under my eyes, and I'd seen a lot of people do that and use it that way and really get on with it, but as soon as I put it on, it just creased so incredibly badly under my eyes. Even when I set it down with the setting powder, it just didn't look good at all, and I found it too slippery to use on blemishes and covering up redness, things like that. It just didn't seem to add a lot of coverage at all. It seemed to sort of move around on my skin and not really be very buildable. I was really sad about this because it's a very much hyped up, well loved product, and I'm always looking for a new concealer for my under eyes, but unfortunately it wasn't the one for me. And I do love all Bobbi Brown products. Everything else from Bobbi Brown I've tried and I've loved, and they have some of my absolute favourites in their range, but this one just wasn't for me. Another concealer that I'm really not a fan of, and one that I feel is going to be quite controversial, is the Collection Lasting Perfection Concealer, this old thing. I really went through a phase of absolutely loving this and swearing by it when I was around 13 or 14, I think, when I first started getting into makeup, and I probably went through about 3 or 4 tubes of the stuff, really loved it, and then a few years later I bought it again and tried it, and I just didn't get on with it at all. I bought the same colour, same thing. I don't know if they changed the formula, I don't think they have at all, but it just didn't work for me anymore. It was really creased under my eyes, very drying. It gives really great coverage, but it is so drying on the skin. As soon as you put it on, it just looks really dehydrated and almost a bit powdery and flaky. It's a bit strange that I really used to rely on this and absolutely love it, but I think obviously my makeup preferences have changed and the way I like my makeup to look is a lot different. I definitely don't wear as full a coverage as I used to. I used to be a double wear fan through and through, and I think probably with Estee Lauder double wear this would work because it has a very similar kind of coverage and consistency, but for me now it's just not the one, and I'm sorry to all those that absolutely love it. I'm sure you do, and I'm sure it works perfectly for you, but for me, not the one. The Hourglass Arch Brow Sculpting Pencil. I wanted this for so long. I remember going on the Space NK website and looking at it and just sort of staring at the screen and wishing I had it in my life, but not actually being able to spend something like, I think, £20 on an eyebrow product, and I finally caved and bought it, and I did get a lot of use out of this for a long time. I'm not sure how much is left. I do still have quite a fair bit in there, but I used it a lot, and I absolutely loved that it had a spoolie on the end so you could brush through your brows, and the pencil is a really great idea. It's kind of a tapered, angled pencil, so you can really fill in the bulk of your brows, then turn it over and do the kind of arch and the smaller bit. But after a while I was looking at photos of myself wearing this, and my brows just looked so strange. They looked really pale and really ashy and grey, and I do like to go for a more ashy shade when it comes to eyebrows just because I find that slightly more flattering for me. But this, I just realised it really didn't look good at all. I have the shade Soft Brunette, and I'm not sure if it's just down to the colour, but also the consistency and the texture and the way that you work it on wasn't my favourite. I think if you like to really shape your brows, really define the arch and really kind of make them slightly different to how they look naturally, this isn't the best for that. I think something like the Anastasia Brow Wiz or the Soap & Glory Archery pencil is kind of very thin and very small, so you can really define the shape of the brow, whereas this I think would be better for people that actually have nice, thick, full, natural looking brows and just want to really kind of fill in any gaps. But for me, because I do like to kind of shape my brows and make them look slightly different, this wasn't really good for that, and the colour just looked so wrong on me. I finally realised it, I think, after about a few months of wearing it, and it just didn't look right at all. So I'm sorry, Hourglass. I do love Hourglass as a brand though. Some of their products are just my absolute favourites, as you probably already know, but this one unfortunately wasn't for me. So I have a couple of lip products here, and I don't really tend to be disappointed by lip products because they all seem to work for me. I think you can't really go wrong with a lipstick. It tends to be more the colour that I don't like, and that's really not a fault of the lipstick, it's more to do with my own choices. But there are a few things that I actually bought and were quite hyped up that I was really excited about that really didn't impress me, and the first one are the Maybelline Baby Lips. These are the original versions. They have since brought out the neon versions, which I actually do quite like because they have more pigment to them. But these I actually ordered from America because I was so excited and so impatient about waiting for them to come to the UK, and I got 3 shades. What are these? I have Coral Crush, Melon Mania and Cherry Me, and they all look like very different colours. There's a really dark plummy red, there's a bright very corally orange looking shade, and then a really fluorescent pink, and I was really excited to try these. I knew that they were just lip balms, so I knew that they wouldn't give much pigment at all or much cover, but they really just looked identical on my lips. They didn't look like anything at all. They just looked like very, very sheer pink lip balms, and I was really surprised that they all look the same considering they all are completely different colours. Even though I was really disappointed by the shades, I thought I could just still use them as lip balms, but the actual formula of these is what I really don't like. They feel very almost greasy and dehydrating on my lips, and it's funny to think a lip balm can dehydrate your lips, but when I put these on it almost feels like my lips get more chapped and more kind of flaky looking, which is really, really strange. And I tend to find when I use Vaseline and more oilier products like that it happens, and if I use something like the NARS Rev de Mille lip balm it doesn't, because it's a different kind of consistency, different sort of formula. So these I really didn't like at all, and they just didn't feel nice on my lips whatsoever, so I was really disappointed by them because I'd gone out of my way to actually get them, but then they ended up coming to the UK and they were about £2 each, so I definitely wasted my money on these. And then the other two are lipsticks from Tarte, and everything that I've tried so far from Tarte I really have got on with, and some of their products are my absolute all-time favourites now, but these two from the first use practically I really didn't like them. These are the Amazonian Clay Butter Lipsticks, and I'd heard quite a few US YouTubers talk about how much they like these. I was really excited to try them when Tarte came to the UK, but I just didn't like them. They are very similar actually to the Maybelline Baby Lips in that they don't really have much pigment to them. They don't seem to give much colour at all on the lips, but they're very glossy and very supposed to be hydrating but don't really feel that great. They feel very greasy and just overly glossy on my lips. The colours are actually really lovely. I have soft coral and golden pink, but unfortunately they just don't look anything like they do in the bullet. They don't seem to translate like that onto my lips, and I just don't really enjoy the feeling of wearing them, so I'm really sorry Tarte, but I didn't like these ones. And then last of all, to finish off this rather negative video, I have a nail varnish formula that was so hyped up, so talked about. I just desperately wanted to get my hands on it, and these are the Sephora Formula X nail varnishes. Now I don't live anywhere near Sephora, I'd have to go to a different country to find one, and unfortunately even though they ship to the UK now you can't buy nail varnishes. I think it's anything in a glass bottle or glass packaging you can't have shipped to you, so that's a shame. They are really, really hard to get hold of, but I was actually in Paris last year and I managed to get to a Sephora and I just made a beeline for these. I think I was around the stand for a good 10-20 minutes just trying to pick which colours I wanted, and I ended up getting Here Comes the Sun and Monumental. Here Comes the Sun is the kind of bright corally shade, and Monumental is a really, really lovely nude, and the colours of these I absolutely love, especially the nude one. It's just the perfect, really neutral, really creamy beige colour. The thing I was so disappointed with though is how badly these applied, and I've worked with streaky nail varnishes before. You can kind of just take your time, do very thin layers and really build them up, but these are just impossible to put on. I actually had to take it off and start again, and I've never had to do that with any nail varnish before. These are the only two I've tried, and they are, I'd say, kind of slightly more pastel-y based shades, and we know that pastels tend to be the most streakiest of all nail varnishes, so I can't speak for the darker colours and the brighter ones. They may be just fine to use, but I was so upset because I just don't want to use these again because I know they're such a pain to put on, and it's a shame because they are really lovely colours. But Sephora Formula X, it let me down, I'm afraid to say. So those are all the disappointing products that I found during my little spring clean of my makeup collection, and they'll probably all be being donated now to various friends and family members to see if they can get some use out of them. If any of those are your favourites though, please feel free to disagree with me. I'd love to know why you like them and how you use them and get on with them. And if you've had a particularly disappointing product in your life, if you bought something that was really hyped about or you were really excited to try and you just didn't get on with it, please let me know because I'd love to read that in the comments, and I will see you all soon.